Talking with the experts.
Hello, and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com, and Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and you can find it on all the popular podcast platforms and on YouTube. And today my guest is Jennifer Lieberman from Maple in Canada. And we're going to be talking about how to master your virtual meeting. And Jennifer is a producer, filmmaker, and award-winning actor. She has over 30 international stage credits and has produced over 40 independent film and theatre productions. Over the course of 2020, while her industry was shut down, she began coaching business professionals and executives with their own on-screen presence and presentation skills, as most businesses were forced to shift to virtual communication. Hello, Jennifer, and thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Rose. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so let's talk a bit more about make your own break business. What exactly does it do?
So I started Make Your Own Break in 2012, and originally, for the past several years, it's been a consulting business where I've been helping other actors and writers create their own projects. So my big breakthrough as a performer in the entertainment business was when I decided to create my own project. I had spent about a decade pounding the pavement, auditioning, trying to get picked. And especially when you don't have much experience, you're kind of a victim of what people pick you for. And when you're starting out, it's not necessarily showcasing you in the way you want to be seen, number one, and number two, utilizing your talents in the best way. So I also was already producing for other people at that point. I was living in New York after university, and I was with a theater company. Somehow I ended up running the company by the time I was 22 because the producer had left. So I never had any producing experience, but I was just kind of thrust into this situation and stumbled through it for a few years, made a lot of mistakes. But I developed producing skills, and that ended up being kind of my side hustle as I was acting, pursuing acting, which was a great side hustle because it kept me in the business. Fast forward several years later, almost not quite 10 years later, but about 8 years later, I had moved to Los Angeles. And somebody suggested to write myself a vehicle, to write myself a showcase in order to let everybody know I was there in terms of inviting agents and managers. So I wrote myself a one-woman show. And that one-woman show was my breakthrough. I tailor-made it to showcase my talents. I played 10 different roles. 10 different people, accents. So I got to do several different accents. I got to do comedy. There were some emotional scenes. So it was a perfect way for me to show my range. And once I did that, I kind of realized, and I started studying other people's careers that I admired. And a lot of actors kind of broke through into the business by creating something for themselves, whether it was Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn doing Swingers, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, who did Good Will Hunting, John Leguizamo. His big breakthrough was a show called Freak. It was an off-Broadway show. My Big Fat Greek Wedding was originally a one-woman show that got picked up into a movie. So as I started doing more due diligence and research, I realized, okay, so all of these people they weren't given a break. They made their own break. So a few years after the play, I had still been producing for other people, so I had those skills under my belt. And I had become an expert at producing productions with little to no budget and finding ways to scrape the money together, pull in some favors, get things in kind in order to make a small scale production happen. And I realized, wow, this is a skill. I can actually help a lot of other people who were in my position to have a platform for themselves. So that's how Make Your Own Break started. And I've been doing that for years. Fast forward to the pandemic, where these smaller productions, independent productions, and theater across the board has been canceled. I was given some opportunities to coach executives and business professionals with their on-camera skills. And as I was coaching, I was coming up with a kind of curriculum, if you will, on the fly. And I realized that there's 7 steps that are really effective, really straightforward. And I was implementing those with my clients. And then I thought to myself, well, this could be a book. This could be a little how-to guide. It's very simple and straightforward. And if you're not a millennial, if you didn't grow up with an iPhone in high school, and you don't know how to use all the apps and all the filters and how to light yourself, and then it could be a great business tool for a lot of people. And also, if you didn't go into broadcast or performing arts, chances are you're not that comfortable on camera. Even the professionals are very self-conscious.
Yeah. I can do podcasts, like I can do these types of things, but get me on a Facebook Live. Nope, I just stumble. I can't get. I freeze when I get on a stage of any type. Then I just forget what I'm meant to be saying, and I don't know. I don't know what must be a mindset thing. I'm not sure, but it's really difficult for me. I don't know why, but anyway, I'm sure I'll work it out sometime.
Yeah. Even for me as a professional actor, it's so much easier to be somebody else. When I have a script, when I have a character, when there's a purpose, other than my own, my own life. But it's definitely challenging. So I can imagine for other people how it feels to be thrust into this world that's daunting and intimidating.
So can we briefly discuss what your 7-step approach is?
Definitely. Okay, so the first one is just believing in yourself and believing that you can do it and that you are good enough, because that's the first hurdle. We have to believe that we can do it. Then there is the setup. So there's the background, what is in your frame, and the location of where you're going to be. A lot of people just kind of open up their laptop on their desk, wherever it happens to be, and use that. And that's fine when you're talking to family, but when you're in a professional setting, it's not the most effective. And in a lot of business courses, there's a phrase called "how you do anything is how you do everything." So, so location, frame, lighting, eye line, these are all things that are important. I would say eye line is, if whoever's listening wants to take away one step, eye line. Raise your device so your camera is in line with your eyes. So we're not looking up at you.
And not looking up your nose. That's really
and looking up at the ceiling and seeing the vent on the wall. And it's such a simple thing, and you don't need to purchase anything. You could just put a couple of books underneath. You can put a shoebox. It's a very simple fix, but to most people who aren't used to being on camera, it's not even a thought. It's not even something that would occur to them. So eye line by far is the first thing that I would say. And then the other thing is to have good lighting. A lot of people tend to have a window behind them and have sunlight streaming in, which creates a lot of darkness on their face.
Yeah, they think that's the best option, to have the light behind, because obviously when you take a photograph, you always have the light behind you, and so the light's not glaring into the camera lens. But when you're on a video, it's different. You've got to have the light in front of you.
Exactly. So if you can't arrange yourself that the window is streaming the light onto your face, then I would suggest to close the blinds, because it gets very distracting when it's shadowy. And 90% of communication is nonverbal, and a lot of it comes through our eyes and our face. So we want our face and our eyes extremely well lit, visible, and clear. So we're able to exude our emotions, our excitement, and convey our energy through our eyes and our face. So, and then after we go through the technical things, such as the ones that I mentioned, I discuss wardrobe. And wardrobe is not just what you're wearing in the frame, which I know there have been a lot of memes and a lot of little mishaps in different meetings that have gone viral about people not wearing proper attire below the waist. And I would go even further. I don't just advise people to wear pants. I advise them to wear proper shoes. In the acting world, it's amazing the transformation that performers go through once they curate the correct wardrobe for their character. Because when we wear sweatpants, we have a different energy. And we're also sending a different message to our brain as to how we're going to sit and how we're going to behave. When we wear proper slacks, when we wear suit pants, for females, when we wear high heels, it changes how we sit, it changes our posture, and it changes our energy. Something about it just energetically changes. And I talk about in the book how you might be able to fool the other person on the other side of the screen, but you can't fool yourself. You can't fool yourself into having that feeling that you're ready to own the room. And that's what's so important when you're up close, in a close-up on frame. You have to be able to exude that confidence and that energy. And wardrobe goes such a long way. So that's another one. I also talk about presentation. We all have a lot of physical habits that we're probably not aware of. How many times we touch our hair, how many times we touch our face, how many times we say, I notice when little things, but I am super aware. I know I say, when I'm thinking. And every time I watch myself on an interview or a podcast, I'm just like, oh, watch the watch the I just did it.
Yeah, I'm so guilty of the you say, yeah, I'm thinking of the next word, and I always say and I don't know how to not do that, and just use the pause. The pause is so important. I know that the pause, without having to say anything, you don't need to say something when you're thinking about something.
And there's a lot of power in that silence, in that silent pause. But it's just a habit. I just did it again. See, now I'm going to be doing it constantly because I just mentioned it. Also, the words, or like, things like that are just very colloquial and natural when we're speaking. In a meeting, when you're not on camera, it can go by unnoticed. But when you're in a close-up, especially a lot of these meetings are being recorded, and when people are going back over them, all these little idiosyncrasies are magnified. So I suggest that people record themselves, record a presentation before you do it. I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is to watch ourselves on camera. Even the biggest actors in the world lament having to watch themselves or talk about when they go to a premiere. They leave as soon as the movie starts screening, and then they come back in for their Q&A because it is uncomfortable, and we have this really terrible inner voice that for some reason with many of us can only see criticism when we watch ourselves. So I suggest when people are about to watch themselves, go watch a YouTube video of bloopers of one of your favorite actors or your favorite sitcoms. Watch the outtakes, watch how many mistakes these people make. Because even the professionals who get paid millions of dollars, they mess up all the time. And it's impossible to be perfect 100% all the time, especially when you're only doing one take. So take a breath, give yourself lots of love and lots of credit, but one of the only ways to improve on these specific things is to watch yourself, is to record yourself, watch yourself. And that's also a way to see how the frame works, how the lighting works. And another thing I talk about is intentions when we're speaking. I know most people don't have a speech written out, but we have talking points. And a lot of actors, in order to, we use the phrase color our work. So even when if we're angry in a scene, we don't want to play anger the whole scene because that gets boring. That's not dynamic to watch. So we choose different intentions. You know, I'm going to antagonize, I'm going to belittle, these are all negative. Of course, these are not things that we would use in a meeting, but I'm just using the example of anger. We would take all of these different intentions to color it. So if you're trying to inspire your team, so start off by praising them with your opening. You can have your first talking point and that can be praise. And then the next talking point can be motivation. And then the next talking point, the intention can be hope for what the company can be or what their achievements can be. And all of those intentions add up to inspiring the team, but color them. So in the book, I actually have a list of active verbs and intentions, and it's very beneficial to write these intentions next to your talking points, because then it gives you a more dynamic way. Because also we can't jump up and down like Tom Cruise on the couch on Oprah, in order to get our point across. We're confined to this little box. So we have to use language and we have to use imagery and energy to convey these emotions and these messages. So that's another thing. I also talk about articulation and pronunciation. And some people trip over their words. Some people get nervous. Some people will notice once they start watching themselves that they want to improve the way they sound, or that they trip over words when they're nervous. So I have a list of vocal exercises, tongue twisters, and different breathing techniques that people can do in order to become more comfortable with the sound of their voice, because tone is one of the aspects of nonverbal communication. It's not just what we say, it's the tone of voice and how we say it. So I have exercises for that. And then I also talk about mindset in terms of you got to get your energy up. You have to, so I talk about whether it's working out, I know we can't go to the gym, but doing a little workout in your living room before you do the presentation, getting your blood flowing, getting your energy up, listening to your favorite song, dancing it out, and dancing through gratitude, being grateful for the meeting, grateful for the job, grateful about the people around you, whether you believe it or not. That's irrelevant. You have to go into this meeting beaming with positive energy, because that comes through on camera, and it's so important. So that's one of the last things that I discuss.
Yeah, picture's worth 1,000 words, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You can't change what your face looks like. It doesn't matter.
The camera doesn't lie. And,
No.
we can put on our fake happy face, but if there's resentment in our eyes, or we're clenching our jaw, or, you know what I mean? All of those things come through, but there are ways to get around it. And it takes work. It's a workout. It's not something, the technical things are very easy, once you know about eye line or certain lighting setup or curating your background. Those are a little more straightforward, but there's also the whole mental game, the energetic thing. So the wardrobe helps, the workout helps. And I also talk about the ritual, like not skipping any of the rituals we would go through in terms of grooming when we are actually going to the office. Like, don't skip the dental floss, don't skip the mouthwash, don't skip the cologne or the perfume, because that's also a sensorial experience. The ritual of the sensorial experience is what gets us pumped up.
Wow. That is so impressive. Thank you so much for sharing that. I learned a lot. I'll have to go and change my shirt later now. Put the shoes on.
Yeah, well, it's little simple techniques that actors use all the time in order to have that compelling performance on camera. And it's something that people outside of the industry, outside of broadcast, never really had to think about until now. No.
And I think hybrid performances are going to be the way of the future. Once everyone's out of lockdown, you will still have your face-to-face meetings, but I mean, how much cheaper is it to do a virtual meeting? You don't need to travel. It costs next to nothing. You can have, as many people on the broadcast as you like, or you can have it one-on-one. So it just makes life so much simpler. It's just that you can't share documents, but you can share screens and do all sorts of wonderful things now. So, yeah, it definitely is the way of the future, I think.
Definitely. And I don't think closing meetings will be virtual, but I think definitely first, second pitch meetings, getting to know someone for the first time or second time, or, when your team is checking in, things like that. I think in terms of making a big business deal and signing a big contract, people are going to want to meet face to face, definitely. But for those initial getting to know you, listening to your idea, for sure, because it's less time consuming, and like you said, just way cheaper.
Yeah, way cheaper. So what is your book called?
It's called Make Your Own Break: How to Master Your Virtual Meeting in 7 Simple Steps.
Right, and where can they find it?
It's available on Amazon. I have a paperback copy and a Kindle copy. So as of right now, that's where it is. And I'm not going to be doing an audiobook for it, because the vocal exercises and things like that, and I have a few diagrams of setup. It's just not something that it's visual. It's a visual material. So.
Yep. Excellent. And I know they can find you on your website at makeyourownbreak.com. So I will direct people to that. Is your book available on your website?
It's not actually. Thank you for mentioning that. Not yet. I will have to add that link.
Oh, there you go. I've contributed something to the conversation.
Yes, you definitely have. And if you don't mind, I'd just like to add, I have another website for my performance.
Yes.
for my writing and performance career, jenniferliebermanactor.com. So if anybody's interested in my theatrical work, they can see all of my material there as well.
Oh,
and all the books are available on that one.
Oh, perfectly perfect.
Yes.
All right, Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today. I've really learned a lot. I think it is one of my favorite podcasts today. So.
Oh my God, I feel so honored. Thank you so much. Well, it was lovely chatting with you, Rose, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you today.
All right, you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon.
Great. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.